Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to cover the topic of Monolith Soft's next game, and also just the future of the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise, because this is one of my favorite series of all time. Monolith Soft has easily cemented themselves as my favorite developer. They have such a proven track record at this point from the games that I've played from them, basically Xenoblade 1 onwards, and no matter what they release, or no matter what's next for Xenoblade, I'm there. I'm there day one. I love this franchise, I love what this developer does, and I'm super excited to see what they do in the future, now that Xenoblade 3 kind of seems like a launching off point for them, in terms of maybe they'll do something new next, and we'll talk about that, but also we'll definitely get more Xenoblade. Xenoblade is one of Nintendo's premier franchises now. I don't think the series is over. That story about Klaus and all that, I'm not going to get into spoilers, that may be over. There may be more with that. Not getting into spoilers here, but the point is, I think right now may be one of the most interesting times to be a Monolith Soft fan, because for the past 5 years or so, we've basically been sitting here waiting for Xenoblade 3, and then we got Xenoblade 3, and then we got Future Redeemed, and now we kind of are in this unknown period of, well, we don't really know what's coming next. It could be a new IP, it could be Xenoblade 4, it could be any number of things, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. So if you're new here and you love discussions like this, like I do, please consider subscribing. So I have written down just a myriad of options for the future of Monolith Soft, the future of Xenoblade, and that whole shebang. So starting off, I just want to shout out, not Monolith Soft developed, but Bankaido's HD collection does release next month, for those that don't know, because I've seen actually no one talking about this. Bankaidos is kind of this JRPG that uses a card deck system that was released on the GameCube back when Bandai Namco worked with Monolith Soft before Nintendo acquired them. So we have Bankaidos 1 and then Origins, which is the prequel. Those are releasing next month on the Switch. Bandai Namco is handling the port, so Monolith Soft not involved with that, but they did create the original game. I just wanted to shout that out because I'm so excited to finally play those games. I think I will love them, and yeah, I just wanted to say, hey, if you're looking for more Monolith Soft stuff, one of their original games is coming out next month on the Switch, and no one's talking about it, which is really unfortunate. But going from there, we get into the completely unknown. And it's worth noting before we talk about Xenoblade that Monolith Soft is a very big developer with multiple different studio locations now that supports most Nintendo-developed games, at least their internally developed stuff. You look at the credits for a game like Splatoon, they worked on it. Animal Crossing New Horizons, they worked on it. And most notably, Tears of the Kingdom, they worked on it. They pretty much have their finger in all of the Nintendo pies in terms of assisting them to varying degrees of severity. So the next Monolith Soft game could be another Zelda game, or, it could be any of these things, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are talking about games that are wholly developed by Monolith Soft. So the first thing I want to touch on is the action RPG from 2018. I believe the story goes, this was a hiring post, and they had this really cool art of some medieval fantasy princess lady, and she looks badass, and it looks awesome. And ever since then, a lot of people have just kind of had this idea of, what if Monolith Soft made an action RPG? Now, this could have been Zelda, straight up. This could have been them hiring for Tears of the Kingdom development. That is very possible. I'm not sure if that's been disproven or confirmed, or, through the credits of Tears of the Kingdom or not. But an action RPG from Monolith Soft is very appealing to me. I think Monolith Soft has some of the most talented developers, so if they did something new, something different from Xenoblade, that would be very exciting. And also, just a new IP. Nintendo does not have very many new IP being churned out very often here, and while I would love to see another Xenoblade game sooner than later, if they want to take a break and do a new IP for the Switch 2, or the next console, I would be there absolutely day one for that. I have full faith in them to deliver, and yeah, I think that's the most exciting thing, honestly, is just the potential of a new IP from Monolith Soft. Even if it's not an action RPG, even if it's something that has more typical Xenoblade elements, like the active combat system, or whatever they call it, they can do a lot of things here, but a new IP from the Xenoblade creators would be an absolute day one must-buy for me, GOATY contender. And then these next three, these are all things I'm very confident in. First things first, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now once again, I'm not getting into spoilers. In fact, I haven't even played Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I know enough to know that this almost certainly has to happen. I know Takahashi said a couple years back that they are not going to do it because it'd be way too much work and too much budget would have to go to it, but Xenoblade Chronicles X is the only Xenoblade game not playable on the Switch. So not only do I think this is going to happen, I think this is going to happen within the next year or two. If my theories are right and the Switch 2 or next hardware comes out in early 2025, I could easily see this being a summer 2025 game for the Switch 1. Maybe some cross-gen shenanigans going on there. Of course, next console will be backwards compatible, as we all hope. But I could see this being a very late life Switch game, get all those Xenoblade games on Switch, and that would make a lot of sense just to tie in all the story threads, because Xenoblade X is definitely important to the entire lineage of Xenoblade. So that, I think, has to happen. I know there's some logistics with like gamepad usage and all that. They'll figure it out. They're not going to leave that game stranded on Wii U. We always say this, oh, there's one more game left on the Wii U to port. There's still several, but this is the one that just has to happen, I think. Even if it's not on the Switch 1, eventually Xenoblade X has to happen. There's no shot Xenoblade X does not come over to the Switch or the next console. There's just no way. The next thing I want to mention might not even involve Monolith Soft, based on Bandai Namco and how they're doing Baten Kaitos alone, but Xeno Saga. For similar reasons to why I feel like Xenoblade X has to come over, I think Xeno Saga has to come over. I think this just makes too much sense. This could be a thing where maybe Bandai Namco would prefer to do a full remake of just Xeno Saga 1 and see how that does, and then go from there. Or maybe we would get the full trilogy just kind of ported to the Switch. Either way, I think Xeno Saga trilogy is definitely happening. You know, that sounds like a pipe dream kind of announcement. I don't think that's quite as far-fetched as something like Xenogears, although I think Xenogears could also happen eventually as well, with Square Enix owning that license. But Bandai Namco, just the sheer fact that they're porting Baten Kaitos, I think proves that they're cool with Xeno Saga coming back, and if they want to find a studio to do it, or maybe if Nintendo handles it themselves, Xeno Saga has to happen. It just has to. And then finally, this one does not involve Monolith Soft either. However, I just have to say, this is definitely going to happen. I've never had such a sure feeling about something in terms of a game that we actually have no hints of. But I think this game could happen imminently. I think it could even be announced in this next September Direct, but more likely next year. Xenoblade Chronicles Warriors. This might not sound that exciting to most people. I don't know. If you don't like Warriors games, then yeah, that's fair. I love the Warriors games. I love what Koei Tecmo does with them. Xenoblade Warriors just makes too much sense. They've already done 2 Zelda Warriors games. Really 3 if you count Hyrule Warriors Legends, which was a port, but then you get what I'm saying. And they've done 2 Fire Emblem Warriors games. I think it's way too soon to do any of those again. Age of Calamity is the best-selling Warriors game by a long shot, and that's because it's a Zelda game, but even the Fire Emblem Warriors games do pretty well for themselves compared to their Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors counterparts. It's too soon to do either of those again, unless they do Tears of the Kingdom Warriors, which I really hope they don't. So I think the next logical step for Koei Tecmo with the Warriors name, with Nintendo licenses, if Nintendo wants to continue that relationship, which I don't see why they wouldn't, is Xenoblade Warriors. Of every Nintendo IP that has not been touched by Koei Tecmo, this one just makes the most sense to me. You know, you could look at, oh, they could do Mario Warriors, or they could do Star Fox Warriors, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could. Pokemon Warriors would be cool too, but fitting that theme of war and just having these big battlefields and this huge cast of characters, Xenoblade just makes a lot of sense. Maybe they hone in and do something more specific like 3 Hopes and Age of Calamity, where it's Xenoblade 3 Warriors or Xenoblade 2 Warriors. I hope they don't do that. I think an all-star cast for a Xenoblade Warriors game makes a lot of sense, where you have characters from all 3 games, X characters in there. Hell, you could even do a DLC where you add Xeno Saga characters. Get Cosmos in there, you know? I think that's totally possible, and I do think this game will be happening in the near future. There's something interesting going on with Monolith Soft and the Switch specifically, where we have almost gotten a Xenoblade game every year. In 2017, we got Xenoblade Chronicles 2. In 2018, we got Torna, which was a DLC, but was a full game, basically. Then in 2019, there was nothing. And then in early 2020, we got Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. 2021, there was nothing, but in 2022, we got Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And then in 2023, we've gotten Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. So maybe 2024 could be a gap year. Maybe we won't get anything. But 2025 at the latest, I would assume, we will see another Xenoblade titled game. Maybe that'll be Xenoblade Warriors then. Maybe it's further off than I think. Maybe it'll be Xenoblade Chronicles X, or maybe it'll be something new entirely. I mean, like I said, Xenoblade Chronicles 4, I don't think I do think that will happen. You know, I really do think, even if it fully removes itself from the Klaus storyline, we will get a game titled Xenoblade Chronicles 4 or Xenoblade Chronicles Subtitle that is continuing in the lineage that Xenoblade 1 through 3 is, not necessarily a Xenoblade X2, although that could also happen. There are so many possibilities right now, to the point that I'm just so excited. As a Monolith Soft fan and as a fan of Xenoblade and this mythos that they've created, there's a lot to be excited about. Not only just from that, though, but the potential of a new IP. I mean, we already talked about it, but man, the last new IP Monolith Soft made was Xenoblade. That's crazy. It's been 15 years or like 13 years. We are totally due for them to get some new, fresh stories in there. And while I would love to see more Xenoblade, and I know we will get more Xenoblade, a new IP is very, very exciting. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you want to see next from the Xenoblade franchise, but also Monolith Soft as a whole? I would love to get a conversation going down there. And if you enjoyed this video, once again, please consider subscribing. I've been posting daily Nintendo topics like this each and every day, and I would really appreciate your support. It truly does help. Leave a like, all that fun stuff. And until next time, folks, peace.